as we move forward, now it is just a distinct pleasure for me to introduce our Luncheon keynote speaker, our first Luncheon keynote speaker, His Royal Highness Prince Turki Al Faisal bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Prince Turki is the founder of the chairman of the King Faisal Foundation and chairman of the King Faisal Center for Research and Islamic Studies. He was born in Mecca. He was schooled in Taif and in the United States, completing his studies at Georgetown University, where he later served as visiting distinguished professor. In 1973, he was appointed advisor to the Royal Court, and in 1977 appointed Director General of the General Intelligence Directorate, Saudi Arabia's main foreign intelligence service. He led the directorate with the rank of minister until 2001. He served successfully as the ambassador to the United Kingdom and the United States until his retirement in 2007. Don't let the word retirement fool you. He's anything but retired. Since then, he has served in a variety of prestigious roles around the world, including an active role in the World Economic Forum and on a variety of important boards. He's received numerous awards and honorary degrees that would take me the rest of the lunch and well into the evening to list. We could not be more pleased to welcome a longtime friend, both of the council and respectively personally as well, and also to the United States and all Americans. Please, he's going to share his insights about the world in which we live at this juncture in history. Your Royal Highness, the room is yours. Would you like to start us?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, it's nice to be back at the Council. I have attended many of these conferences in the past, and every time I feel the friendship and the warmth of the reception exceeding the previous time. And from that perspective, I also want to thank Delano and the Roosevelt family for their continued interest, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in fostering Saudi-American relationships. And so at this moment, I would also like to thank Chairman Pratt for his and his colleagues for their efforts to make this event successful. However, I cannot continue without expressing my gratitude and appreciation for my friend John Duke Anthony for making this council second to none in promoting the much needed understanding between the Arab world and the United States. And Patrick, where are you, Patrick? Thank you as well for all your efforts. We are at a time when our world is facing multiple crises. We're facing wars, broken international institutions, and neglect of international principles, rules, and norms. It is imperative for everyone to ask, where are we heading? Our world is in a state of anarchy where there is no responsible world leadership that preserves order in this broken world order. Great powers throughout modern history are the creators and the guarantors of stable and peaceful orders. Alas, today's great powers are behind our state of disorder by their misconduct. Great responsibility falls on the United States' shoulders to restore order by returning to its ideals and principles and to lead our troubled world back toward a real rule-based international order if it is bound to lead. World polarization, power politics, spheres of influence, and a new Cold War are not cures to our world illnesses. It is a fact that the people and governments in many parts of our world have been awaiting the American election as if it is their own. However, many see that their high expectations are sometimes, and most times I would say, disappointed by the conduct of the successive American administrations, regardless of who is the president, when it comes to issues of their concern, especially in the Middle East. I hope they will not be disappointed this time by the election or re-election of Donald Trump. American leadership matters for our world. Therefore, where our world is heading will depend on how the new administration tackles the outstanding issues of conflict and cooperation. I hope that the new administration can lead with an attitude of let us do peace instead of just wish for it. I am afraid that talking about this hope of the new administration will not exceed our wishful thinking if the new administration comes to office without a new, well-thought-out strategy assuring the world of its leadership and its intentions to bring world peace and balance again. This is especially important to all regions of the world, not only the Middle East. The decisive manner in which Mr. Trump triumphed in the election allows him to do what those before him did not. In our region, there is no more cause for suspicion and discord than the uncertainty about American strategic outlook toward the Middle East. The absence of clear American intentions, policies, and leadership has contributed to the complexity of the situation. Furthermore, we in the Middle East, and I believe in other parts of the world as well, are and were watching American diplomatic conduct during Gaza's war. That is Reagan for more than a year now. It is unfortunate that it was a total disappointment, and it is seen in the region as a complicit diplomacy that buys time for Netanyahu to finish his genocide and wars on the Palestinian people. While it also demonstrates how impotent the United States is as a great power responsible for preserving world peace and security. If this type of conduct continues with the new administration, the mistrust of American policies will hamper any future initiatives by the United States. Continued failure in addressing the issue of Palestine, the mother of all conflicts in the region, has been and will continue to be the bone of contention between the Arab world and American administrations. If the experience of the past and present American administration in tackling this protracted conflict has revealed anything, it is that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will remain intractable as long as U.S. policy is unduly beholden to Israel's positions. This game of Israeli favoritism has not proven wise for the United States, and in an ever-changing Arab world, it will be an even greater folly. In fact, continuation of this dominant perception of American involvement in this issue has always been a major factor in suspicion and discord with Arabs and Muslims. Solving the Palestinian and Arab-Israeli conflict is imperative to a peaceful region. Hence, it is not surprising to have the events of October 7th, 2023, and Gaza's war, now the war on Lebanon, and the threat of spilling over as a regional war. This will be the future of our cursed region if no solution is found to this just cause. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 13 months, the Gaza Strip has been under indiscriminate attack by the Israeli army persistently targeting lives, infrastructure, and all elements vital for human survival. I was glad this morning to see in the New York Times a reflection of that, a headline saying that Israel's brutal attack on Gaza is causing so much damage and destruction. It's about time for the New York Times and other media outlets in the United States to wake up to these facts and not to close their eyes in order to hide their shame and their inconscience in dealing with the Gaza situation. This demonstrates a blatant disregard for humanitarian values, norms, and laws meant to protect non-combatants. Israel's relentless and destructive response to the events of October 7, for which Hamas is accountable, regardless of its motives, epitomizes disregard to international law and world public opinion. While Israel views the events of October 7th as a security and intelligence failure, which indeed it fundamentally represents a political failure stemming from the arrogance and unfounded conviction that led it to ignore the suffering endured by the besieged people of Gaza and the rest of Palestine. Netanyahu's belief that he has tamed Hamas by funneling billions of dollars of Qatari money to it led to Hamas's surprising and brutal attack on October 7th. Israel perceived an opportunity in the relative calm of the West Bank and the weakened state of the Palestinian Authority to further its agenda of colonizing Palestine and its sacred sites. These delusions also led to misconstrue Arab overtures for peace as a sign of waning interest in the Palestinian cause. It failed to acknowledge that peace, stability, and security in the region hinge upon resolving this just cause, even if it normalized relations with all Arab states. By dismissing both Arab and non-Arab peace initiatives and flouting international resolutions, Israel presumed its policies succeeded in shifting blame onto the victim, leveraging the support of its backers and allies that dominate the international media and decision-making spheres, particularly within Western nations led by the United States. Irrespective of the outcome of this brutal war, Israel cannot evade the repercussions of its prolonged occupation, its arrogance, and its reckless policies against the Palestinian people and their sacred sites. The Palestinian Authority, Hamas, and other Palestinian organizations shoulder a significant burden for their failure. They were unable to reconcile their differences and bridge the persistent divides among them, giving grounds for Israel and others to sideline, isolate, and weaken them. The rift between the Palestinian Authority and Hamas within Gaza and the West Bank proved detrimental to the integrity of their cause. Gaza is paying a grave price in destruction and bloodshed, a responsibility they share for their inability to match the magnitude of their cause. Today, they must heed the lessons from their suffering and the global sympathy they have garnered to present a unified voice to the world. This failure among the Palestinians also cascades into Arab failures, as the Arab world failed to galvanize unity among Palestinian forces and left Gaza besieged. By failing to back our quest for peace, it incites international and regional powers to do likewise. The war on Gaza has laid bare the glaring hypocrisy and double standards among the elites and Western nations, particularly in the United States. They have long propagated an image of advancing civilization and a commitment to moral, humanitarian, and legal principles, as well as global peace. This revelation is not new to our region, and it is increasingly becoming apparent to their own people who once believed in their proclaimed values. the hundreds of thousands of Americans who demonstrated in the streets of most American cities in support of Palestinian independence from Israeli occupation testify to the American people's opposition to their government policy of support for Israel. The voters in Michigan definitely abandoned Ms. Harris in her bid for the presidency. The US government's failure is evident in their positions within the Security Council and the UN General Assembly, overtly supporting the war, and their proposal for resolving the conflict are an embodiment of this significant failure. If the US policy toward the Palestinian cause is led by Israel, driven by evil extremist intent on perpetuating massacres and destruction, this failure will persist. The recent failure of the US is the culmination of 40 years of mismanagement in seeking a resolution. Its stance has merely echoed Israel's, delaying peace efforts and stalling to establish an irrevocable and irreversible status quo that hinders a just and acceptable resolution for a Palestinian state and self-determination rights. Despite vocal support for a two-state solution, the US and some Europeans have not exerted enough influence and pressure to move Israel to make it a reality. This war highlights Israel's reliance on the US as its advocate and guardian, seemingly dictating the latter's policy to serve its agenda. Thus, the complete responsibility to bring peace to the region and resolve this prolonged conflict that jeopardizes security and stability lies with the US. The close bond between the US and Israel has eroded the former's credibility as a mediator in this cause. Regardless how this war ends, there is no other option to moving toward establishing and recognizing a Palestinian state by adhering to international resolutions. Specifically, UN General Assembly Resolution 181 of 1948, the United Nations Security Council Resolutions 242 and 338. Talking without walking by wise world leaders will not bring definitive resolution to the Palestinian issue. It is time to be up to the ideals of a rule-based international order and international law. Failing this time by not being fair to the last colonized indigenous people of Palestine is proof of the duplicity of the major Western countries. Israel is not an exceptional state to escape the dictates of conscience and international law. In relation to this issue, Saudi Arabia is publicly and privately committed to finding a just and peaceful solution to this conflict. This commitment is not new, and it was lately confirmed by our Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman that there will be no normalization with Israel without a Palestinian state with its capital in East Jerusalem. An Arab and Islamic summit was held in Riyadh 2 days ago to have a united stand regarding this issue out of the belief that there will be no peace, security, stability, and sustainable economic success in our region. The Kingdom is steadfast in supporting all international initiatives and all UN Security Council resolutions designed to solve this issue peacefully. It was also the originator of two major regional initiatives, the King Fahd 8-point peace plan proposed in 1981 and the King Abdullah Arab Peace Initiative of 2002. The two initiatives were adopted by all Arab states and presented to the world. Israel ignored both proposals. The Kingdom heartily applauds the European and other states that have recognized the Palestinian state. Saudi Arabia still believes in the viability of the Arab Peace Initiative and the two-state solution as the fairest plan presented so far by all other parties. It will continue to support any initiative that brings about a just solution to the plight of the Palestinian people. The new American administration under President Trump must heed such calls. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. We are more than grateful for your participation today. You always seem to, in your inimitable fashion, find ways to take something that is so broad in scope and narrow it down to a clear and concise focus so we all can share in a grander picture. We greatly appreciate it. We also, on behalf of the National Council, we're very grateful to your generosity for your kind references to the National Council, and on behalf of the Roosevelt family for your reference to my family as well. You know as well as I do, but some others might not. Next year in 2025, it'll be recognized as the 80th anniversary since my grandfather first met with your grandfather on the Great Bitter Lake. And you know what? You're still here. I'm still here. And inshallah, we will keep working together, doing anything we can to strengthen these bridges of friendship, person to person and business to business. So from that, I say shukran. Thank you.